Alrighty, hello everybody, and welcome back to another episode of TABG Coaching with your host, Giusa Planet, which is me, the person currently speaking. Today we have something of a interesting episode, as we have a player by the name of Spindown. Now, from what I know, Spindown is an experienced FPS player. They played Valorant as well as Overwatch, and they are decently skilled in both. They have hit Radiant twice in Valorant, Radiant being the highest rank I think you can achieve, or near highest. So, fairly good skills with rifles and stuff like that, which we will see in this footage. Now, admittedly, I'm not the first person to review this footage. My friend, DualRotorHelicopter, has also reviewed the footage. Now, I don't necessarily agree with all of the statements that he made, but it was interesting to see his breakdown of this gameplay here, and I will keep some of the points in mind, and if I make references to it, that will be why. You can find his video down in the description below, or you can also ask him about stuff in my Discord server, which will be linked down below, where you can also submit one of your gameplays and have me look at it and tell you how to improve. Anyways, let's get into this. Okay. So first off, you are super launching. For those of you who don't know, super launching is when you use a launch pad in the early game lobby, and you are still flying by the time the buses, you get teleported to the buses. It basically gives you a huge speed boost. It's it's unethical, and it's also really just not good thing to. It's not a very good practice to have if you want to improve, for the main reason that you're not only not challenging yourself, it becomes something that you have to rely on. And also, it really does limit your ability to grow, because if you always make it to a location of like 10 seconds before anybody else, you're basically getting advantage for free. It is a form of cheating. It's not like aimbot cheating, but it is still a form of cheating. They're going to go area 64. If you do super launch, you might as well jump as early as possible, because you get so much distance instead of waiting, as you actually end up overshooting here, when you could have just sought out horizontally and then gone down. But you did manage to do a solid landing here.
What?
A solid-ish. You get stuck, and you're being chased.
Why does this happen to me all the time?
Okay. So, it's an area drop. There's going to be a lot of people, a lot of fighting. AKS, solid weapon. And you're going to go with AKS BAR. I suspect that you prefer the BAR, which, understandable, honestly. So far, this is a pretty decent loadout, but crossbow pistol is pretty good for starting fights. AKS is good for close range. Rifle, BAR is good for long range. Unfortunately, you run into one of the first plights or problems with TABG, is that you cannot really effectively shoot through windows. Because your guns get jammed on the windowsill, and as do your arms, and it makes it really difficult to actually hit anything. Given your weapon section here, you might as well just jump down and shoot them if need be. Like, worst case scenario, you throw on a snowstorm grenade, you kill them. Best case scenario, you just drop on their head and shoot them. Instead here, you try and shoot them and then you miss because TABG, and so you've let a kill get away, and you let a kill get away. And you also spent time and ammo for little benefit. So you hear people around you. So, I will admit, if you're not experienced with the bar, this isn't necessarily the best idea. The FAMAS might be interesting here to pick up. I don't know. You do have the AKS, but you swap out the AKS for a SCAR later on, and a FAMAS would do a lot better than a BAR in that case, mainly because it's very good for the FAMAS is very good for the close to medium range fights that tend to happen in a place like Area 64. Which I actually, hold on, oops. I need my drawing tool, because otherwise I can't really illustrate my points. I suppose, where if we take like this hillside here, from here to here, that's pretty much where AKS works. Maybe here, from here to here is where SCAR works, and from here to like here is where FAMAS works. And this area, like this little zone or this little zone right here, this distance is between these two lines is pretty much the average distance between cover in Area 64, which is the ideal range for the FAMAS. Now, admittedly, the FAMAS is ammo hungry, which would be a problem if you were landing a place with not a lot of loot. However, this is Area 64, one of the most loot-rich places on the map. So all you have to do is find one Browning, and you have like eight magazines worth of ammunition. So it's completely fine. Now, what I do find issue with is
What? I thought this is a one-shot.
with the way that you are just fighting in area so far. I'll comment on it later. Like, more accurately, I'll comment it in a bit. Once the fights have finished. That is a pretty solid grenade. It makes it much more difficult to ally for the person that you were shooting at with the one with the MGL to go and revive his ally. Except you then take this in a bad way. In general, if you throw a grenade at this location, like if I throw anything here, and instead of going through here, which is putting myself at risk and everything, I'm going to swap to blue for this. If I throw anything in the zone here, stun grenade, stun grenade, normal grenade, fire grenade, snowstorm grenade, anything aside from like an orbital grenade or maybe a bouncy grenade, because bouncy grenades are very unpredictable and everything. Generally, I don't want to run into this head on, which would be taking this pathway through this little barracks here. Generally, you want to approach it from either side. So either you want to go like flank around from the left here and then catch them on the left side, because they're going to be running away from the grenade area. That grenades deny space. You should know this, you play Valorant. Grenades and utility deny space, and they force people into bad positions. So if somebody is like, hold on. If this blob is a player, they have three options here. They have run directly towards you, generally a bad idea. They have run to left here, which is not a terrible idea. It leaves them a bit open, but if they have speed or something, they can go at the back here and then run away across the hill. Or they can go to the right here, which is actually pretty preferable because there's all the trucks and the little watchtower here and everything. So what that means is that the person realistically has two options. They're going to go left and they're going to go right. And you already know that they're going to go right over here because that's where their down teammate is. Which means that to counteract this, what you should do is you should go and intercept them, and you should go through this little cubby right here. Now, the reason I'm saying the cubby and not through the barracks is that the cubby not only is more open and everything, it doesn't have all of the beds blocking your path, blocking your shots, restricting mobility, everything. You can get onto the roofs from here. It's a bit finicky, but you can actually do it. And what that means is that it gives you access to the entirety of these roofs for mobility and for cover if you need it. You can also throw down more grenades, and grenades are always best when thrown from high ground. So, yeah. And case in point, you get stuck in your own snowstorm grenade and you let this guy get away for a split second, and it costs you about half of a magazine of small ammo. Okay, alrighty, so you've reloaded all your guns, you're getting moving. You heard that this guy was over here, and you managed to take him out. Not bad. Okay. In general, this is not a very good loadout. Two rifles are not very good together, or these two specific rifles are not very good together because they both fill the range. They both fill the role of medium range, high damage. Medium range, high damage, but slow fire rate assault rifles or combat rifles. No. The SCAR is technically a combat rifle, and then the BAR is a no, it's just a standard assault rifle, I suppose. It's nitpicks. Anyways, let's see. So you hear somebody in the building.
Well, I can't identify where this fucking guy is.
So you either hear the dummy, you're either hearing the dummy grenade, or you're hearing just somebody.
I don't want to go in either.
But, yeah. If you do want to go in and you don't know where they are, you can just always flank them. You can take an alternative entrance. For example, where is it? Right here. On this side of the building, on the opposite side, is where you have the windows leading to the locker room up top. It's really, most people don't expect you to waltz through there. It's really good. You can just run in there, look real quick. If you see somebody, you can choose to grenade them, choose to shoot them, choose to back out, whatever and everything. But it's pretty good. If it's somebody on the 3rd floor, you have all of the windows on the 3rd floor. Basically, there are multiple ways to get into this building, so you can go in and look and check to see if there's somebody in there without even having to burn a grenade. Of course, you can also do the classic thing of just throwing like a bouncy grenade or literally any form of grenade and just do what's known as grenade fishing, which is you fish and you look to see if there is somebody in an area with grenades. Obviously, having something like an insight or track spellbook.
Does guy do anything?
Will also let you do that. But yeah, you did manage to kill this guy. He wasn't much of a threat, but... Okay. Oh,
Someone farting, bro. Oh no, it's this guy.
Okay. So yet again, this is the problem I was talking about. These are both medium to long range assault rifles. They do not do well in close range fights, and you are noticing that. Now you do manage to get a good kill here.
My fucking...
And you do manage to find legendary speed, which is fantastic.
Almost griefed me.
This is a shame that you do this because I think this might have actually helped you later on. Cardio is a healing over time blessing, just like regen, except it does a couple things differently. One, unlike regen, it does not boost how fast you use healing items. Two, it gives you speed. It gives you health based off your current speed. Three, that healing is not capped. That means the faster that you move, and the faster that you're moving in a given moment, the more that cardio will heal. Which means that this is why you can launch pad with a cardio and it will heal you 80 health a second because of that. Now, the interesting thing is the fact that with legendary speed, I'm pretty sure it's not double, but it really does jack up the amount of healing that you get from cardio. Cardio also has a pretty significant advantage, is that it is an independent healing source. It does not rely on any external factors, such as you hitting, or I suppose it's passive healing, which means that you don't have to prone like with relax, you don't have to use a catchphrase like with healing words, and most importantly, you don't actually have to be shooting somebody like with a vampire or a tree or a bush, but that's not the intended use of vampire. So now admittedly, obviously you're probably going to want to keep vampire because you have the aim, and yeah, mostly the aim to be able to use it well. But I would still keep cardio in your back pocket, especially if you have to approach a sniper or something like that, or you're in an extended fight where you have to move a lot. The healing over time of cardio, especially if you're up against high damage weapons, will save you a lot more than a vampire will. Also, clean out your inventory. If you know that you're not going to use shotguns or muskets or tasers, or even if you suspect you're like, yeah, I'm probably not going to use them, then get rid of them, because right now they're just taking up inventory slots for pretty much no effect.
Like that. Wait, I do it like that.
Okay. So, first things, if you're going to loot, please do it prone, because right now you are making yourself very exposed. Okay. Partially exposed. Or no, you're still very exposed, but not as much as if you were standing still. But this little shuffle that you're doing really isn't much. As you can see, your head is bobbing around.
Right.
But like that increases the chance of somebody missing you from 0.5% to 5%. It's really not much of an increase. If they're close enough or they have good enough aim, they're still going to be hitting you.
Like that. So
just prone, hit the deck. It makes you harder to hit. You can also use something like a smoke grenade or a wall grenade or any kind of defensive grenade. That's more applicable if you're in a fight or out in the open, but you could definitely use smoke grenade here. Now, this loadout, aside from the fact that you put the compensator on the crossbow instead of the Scar H when it is better on the crossbow, is not... I do not think this is a very good loadout, for the sole reason that the Scar H is much more The Scar H is more focused on medium range than something like the AK is, whereas the AK is kind of a generalist gun. It does alright medium, it does alright at close range, it does well at medium range, and it does okay-ish at medium to long range, and then it just kind of doesn't at long range. The Scar H is much more tuned to those medium to longer ranges, so it will get more mileage than, like, you will get better results with the Scar H at like 50, 60 meters than you will with the AK or the FAMAS or maybe the AUG and stuff like that and everything. But up close, it does not work well, which means that your quote-unquote close-range weapon is going to be the crossbow. Unfortunately, the crossbow is a one-shot weapon with a pretty slow projectile, which means that all of your close-range fighting is basically you gambling that you can hit an arrow on an enemy, which is not a very good way to design a loadout. I'm gonna be honest. If you were going to do something here, honestly, I would say go with AA-12 and the crossbow. It's your AA-12 Scar H. You're gonna have a bit of an awkward, I think 15 to 25 meters was going to be a bit awkward for you. In terms of it would be like 10 to 20 meters is going to be a bit awkward for your weapons because Scar H isn't necessarily adapted for that, and the A12 just has too much spread. But it's still better than having pretty much most of your close range fighting depending on the crossbow. Now another thing, because he proceeds to leave, no, not quite.
Actually, kind of kicked out.
Okay, so you see somebody, you miss him. This is another problem with the Scar, or with both of your guns, is that they are very bulky guns, which makes them
and loot.
They get stuck a lot on geometry, on enemies, stuff like that.
Nope.
Also, if you didn't know, it's better to shoot downed enemies with high fire rate weapons because you can only do so much damage per shot to them. It's capped, so it's better to just shoot them with your Scar here. Also, Dual Rotor called this out, and I do agree. The crossbow pistol isn't really doing much here. It is a downgrade to your normal crossbow. They take up the same ammo. Honestly, grabbing any kind of pistol, even something like an M1911 would... M1911, if not an M1911, actually like a Beretta or a Glock 18, if you have good aim with it, would do you well for that like close range firepower that you are missing.
Hitting? Wow.
Okay. So, you kill him, and you come back for even more kills. That is the guy that you shot for the legendary speed.
I don't like the... Oh.
And you're getting shot at. Unfortunately, you don't actually hit your shots here, but they are very close.
Our crossbow, that's no bueno. For me personally.
Now this is just a terrible... This is, you have basically willingly walked into a crossfire here, which is not how you want to take fights. So, we start out here. Take a couple of pot shots with the pocket crossbow instead of the normal crossbow. Big mistake. If you have the big crossbow, just use the big crossbow because you'll get a guaranteed down instead of leaving them at point blank health.
Crossbow setup.
You take a bit of chip damage here.
That's no bueno.
Funny enough, cardio would actually have you up to about 90 health right now. Or not 90, but 85 health at least.
For me personally.
And then what you do here is that you're focusing on this guy and you completely miss. So all of your attention is on this guy here. Or, hold on. All of your attention is on this guy here. And you completely miss the fact that there's a guy to your left here. A guy who's currently shooting you and who is on your left, which is pretty dangerous. Now, the thing is that you could have actually avoided this. Right here. This guy is standing back with a BAR, I believe. Not your BAR, but another one that he found and everything. And he's hit one shot, but he fired about a full magazine.
That's no bueno.
Which means that he's not a very good shot. Additionally, he's moving in pretty much a straight line and he has no blessings, which means that he's not necessarily a very big threat here. However, the person...
That's no bueno.
This person, the first guy that you're shooting at...
A crossbow setup?
He is moving he's just moving better in general, but he's also moving to the left here, which means that he wants to close the distance, which is really bad for you because none of your weapons are suited for close range, which means that if you find yourself in a fight where you have to pick between multiple targets, usually the priority goes that hold on. The first target that you want to shoot and you want to deal with is the most dangerous one. This means that the person that has the sniper rifle, the musket, the minigun, whatever the high damage, like the extremely high damage or very lethal damage output weapon, you deal with them first. The second person that you want to deal with is the person that's going to cause you the most trouble. In this scenario, since both of them have assault rifles and nothing special and everything, you want to deal with the person that's trying to close the distance on to you, because once they do get into close range, you will have a very rough time trying to kill them, which means that you should be focusing, and on top of not shooting at this guy, I mean, you can take like a couple of pot shots. You should be paying all of your attention should be here on this guy and trying to deal with him.
Double crossbow, that's no bueno for me personally.
And because you don't do this, you focus on that guy, and this guy starts shooting you in the back.
Oh shit.
And now you're stuck out in the open. Also, DualRotor mentioned this. You are currently gambling your life against a Mossberg, a gun which is notorious for dealing like very high amounts of damage at close range at completely random intervals. You sometimes take 5 damage, sometimes you take 150. It's not, but like it's between 10 and 100 damage, which means that you should not be that close to the Mossberg. Now, obviously, you didn't know that they have a Mossberg, but
oh shit.
Because you put yourself in a scenario here where you have to stay in this bubble because otherwise you die from the damage you're going to take, you are kind of forced to take this fight, which puts you in a really bad spot. And had this person hit any of their shots, you would most likely be, if not dead, very, very hurt. You missed this guy once. You missed twice. This is the other issue with the crossbow, is that it is finicky to use. Nice. So you managed to take out this guy. Duel mentioned this. Just take a pot shot on that guy. If you manage to actually get a deal damage to him, you'll get a free kill once the zone closes. Alrighty, and you are out of the zone. This is a terrible landing. Yet again, you are willingly putting yourself in the middle of a crossfire, and sadly, this game does not have things like teleports or get out of jail free cards like Valorant or Overwatch might have, because you have a guy over here who is currently shooting at you. A guy over here who's currently shooting in your general direction, and you have this guy. Now this guy, he's not much of a threat. He doesn't have a weapon. He's clearly currently running away from the other guy. However, the other guy is definitely an issue, and admittedly, you don't actually land behind the rock. You land to the left of the rock, which means that you would have been a very open target here. Now, you do go after him. You manage to kill and everything. And you have some solid aim here. This is good aim with an assault rifle. Well done. But you are getting sniped. First things you want to do, I will admit this wiggling is actually pretty smart. First thing you want to do is you want to find cover. Running on the open is not cover. However, this rock is cover. This one. This giant rock right here. That's out of the line of sight of the other person. That is cover. This hill right here, or this cacti, technically counts as cover. This other rock right here also counts as cover. That dune over to your right counts as cover. The other house that you ran by also counts as cover.
I thought I had the cardio equipped on me.
Yes, you do not. You have vampire, and vampire is finicky. Yet again, vampire only works if you're hitting enemies, which means that if you're in a situation where you're taking damage from an enemy and you can't fire back, case in point, sniper shooting you in the back and everything, all they need to do is land a couple of follow-up hits. Or even if they just deal damage to you and they're going to put you out of commission and force you to burn a lot of healing resources. Whereas cardio will just it won't negate, but it will heavily reduce the impact of that.
Dying.
Also, DualRotor mentioned this. You seem to have an obsession with bandages.
I thought I had the cardio equipped on me.
I'm not sure where this comes from, given games that you play. Most of the time, it's better to just get behind just take the couple seconds to freeze and use a med kit because it heals 50% of your health instead of just 15%. So bandage 15%, so 15 health if you have no max health blessings, and med kit is 50%. In general, it's usually better because 2 bandages is the same amount of time elapsed as a med kit. Obviously, the med kit comes with the issue that if you cancel it, you get no healing over time, whereas if you do 2 bandages back to back, you'll still get at least 1. If it's the same amount of time before you cancel it. But in general, if you're not in immediate danger and you're not getting shot at, so yeah, if you're not in immediate danger, use a med kit. Even if you are in immediate danger, if you can get enough time to get away or force enemies to not approach you, use a med kit because the value is much higher. Alternatively, you don't use the med kit and you use things like cardio.
Can I kill him? No. Okay, buddy.
Yeah, you never actually got downs on him. This is actually a pretty good grenade loadout, mostly. Wall grenade, solid option, good for building immediate cover out in the open in like a field like here. Implosion grenade, simple, good grenade for dragging people out of cover, inconveniencing them in a fight and everything. Healing grenade is kind of overkill here, mainly because you have vampire, which means that if you find yourself in a... Well, yeah. I suppose you do need the healing grenade because you might have what happened earlier in Area 64 with the Mossberg guy happen to you. However, okay, hold on, how to explain this. The fact that you have to have a healing grenade in your grenade slot because there's a chance that you will run into the same issues that you had in the previous fight is a demonstration of why your loadout just doesn't work well, because you put yourself in even more danger in close range that you have to reserve one of your grenade slots to make up and to take into account that danger. Which, if you had a close range weapon, you wouldn't need because you could just rely on Vampire plus your close range weapon. Now, your fight over
Honestly,
here...
that's the best loadout I have low-key gotten.
I mean, it's a pretty good loadout.
I've recorded 2 really good games already. Submit.
Oh, quick tip. I know you did not notice at the time of recording, but you can unequip your weapons. It is X. I have it bound to Q. Q is a lot easier to use. Not only do you move faster and you accelerate faster, it also prevents your guns from getting jammed in doorways, and also makes it easier for you to do parkour and move around, which it's generally helpful information to have.
But
right now, you would be about to these rocks, I think, if you had your gun stowed. I'm not sure how accurate that math is, but...
It is the best I've gotten besides the...
Actually, it probably, especially weapon. Since you have legendary speed, which makes you run very quickly. Nice, fantastic shot. Admittedly, they were standing still, but...
No?
Please, prone here.
That's no bueno.
Yeah. Standing out in the open like that and shimmying is very cool, and I will give you style points for it, but it doesn't actually make you much harder of a target to hit. Just prone, mostly just prone. Prone is the easiest way to grab loot and everything. That makes you a harder target to hit and see, and mostly that. It makes you harder target to see, harder target to hit, and also have more options, because even if somebody does shoot you, unless they are right next to you, there is a lower chance of them instantly landing like 3 headshots or something, which means that if you have like dash jumps, a grenade primed or something like that, like a sawed off or something like that, you can react almost instantly and still manage to get away. Whereas if you're in the open, they can just shoot you in the head twice and you die, which is a shame, but such is TABG. So you hear a fight happening here in Industry. We have the Infinity guy from earlier, and we have a frag grenade going on, which means that there are at least 2 people fighting here, and it's more likely it's 2 teams. They go for a lucky crossbow shot. Infinity guy is getting some kills, not bad.
I think I heard the tracking spell.
So he doesn't actually hear a tracking spell here. I cannot hear it because my sound is not set high enough, but that is impressive. It also does reveal that there's somebody still here. However, it also might reveal, depending on when they cast it, it might reveal your position. So if you do hear it in general, if you hear a track spell, just be wary that there is a good chance that an enemy A knows you are nearby, and B has an approximate idea of your location, which means that you should probably start moving around and going elsewhere.
Missed a few shots.
Now, that's not necessarily a bad whatchamacallit.
Oh my god.
That was actually a pretty good jump down. If you do it badly, it's what we like to call in the business the dual rotor special, named after, yet again, the other person who reviewed this DualRotorHelicopter, who has a tendency to jump down into the line of fire of enemies for no reason. Admittedly, this was more of an ambush because the other dude had no idea you existed, so well done on that. But yeah, yet again, actually, this is a good example of why the crossbow does not work at close range, because you miss and you suddenly have to rely on your second gun. And if this person had, let's say, a Mossberg or something, and they turn slightly to right and shoot you, you just fall over and die.
Missed a few shots, my bad.
Now, Vampire is actually doing some work here. It got you about 30 health. Yeah, just shoot the guy with your scar.
This guy is fucking annoying.
He is actually a bit annoying. Not bad. You dodged the MGL. So this right here is a very good demonstration of why close quarters are very bad in this game. And this is a good demonstration of why it's important to learn what grenades do and how long they last, because the fuse on a bouncy grenade does not depend on the number of bounces. It is a timer, and the timer is 8 seconds, which means that right here, 1, 2, 3, and 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
The grenade.
It's approximately 8. I was counting fast. But point is, practice a bit more with the grenades and everything, because knowing how long something like a bouncy grenade lasts is the key difference between the winning or losing. Like, can be the decider in effect, because if you know that a knockback grenade sends you 10 meters instead of 15, like, you can know more or less where you land, which lets you know what cover is nearby, like where you are, what cover is nearby, if there's any like parkour boxes or anything nearby, if there's like a drop down or pipes or something nearby. Same thing, like know how much area does a cluster grenade cover, knowing how long a stun is, and how, like, what the range is for the stun grenades effects are, stuff like that.
It will not bounce.
It's niche. It's niche information, but it will save your life multiple times over in this game.
This much. That's why.
Now, that's a fantastic find, I'm gonna be honest. Laser sight makes sense, makes it easier to hit the crossbow.
Yeah, bro, I think this is not actually. I don't think we need this.
Yeah, you don't really need the ice, I'm gonna be honest. One of your weapons, the crossbow, doesn't use ice. It's pretty much pointless for it. Because you killed most targets with one shot, and the Scar H already has high enough damage per bullet that you don't really need these target slowing benefits of it.
Jesus, my sound is getting. I don't hear anything.
So that's another bouncy grenade.
Wow, everything is getting cut out.
Here.
Wait, here's the guy. Oh my god, get the fuck out of my game. You little fucking wimp. Sorry.
I'm gonna miss. I don't know why Spindown has such hatred against the guy, but I mean, that's pretty decent showing here.
Wait, here's the guy. Oh
Solid
my god,
shots.
get the fuck out of my game.
Honestly, I might have gone for a crossbow shot
wimp
in there, especially since he was running in pretty much straight line.
Sorry.
But,
I had a personal issue with this guy, bro.
But yeah. Also, yet again, you're standing out in the open, which makes you really exposed. Also, this right here is a demonstration of the dangers of having not cleaning out inventories that you have a ton of. You have 4 unneeded ammo types. We're assuming that he keeps the big ammo in case he finds an op S74U. And like the soul, you don't need a soul because you're playing solo squads and everything, which is 6 slots or 5 slots that you could use to just instantly swoop up and quote-unquote inhale any loot that you want, such as the bolts and the normal ammo and everything, and you only have to sort out the last couple of things.
Oh yeah.
And instead you have to
I don't know if
you have to sort it out manually, which
the
is costly more
loadout
time.
I just made myself is like a noob loadout, because you
It's not a noob loadout. It's just not necessarily a very good loadout. Also, Dual Rotor mentioned this. Weapon mastery, not really the best option here. Scar H is already quite accurate. That's one of the perks comparing it and the AK, is that it's very accurate. It just has higher recoil or base recoil. However, the problem with running weapon mastery with the Scar H is that it makes it too accurate. And what I mean by too accurate is that you really want your guns to have at least a very small amount of spread, because humans aren't robots, and we have a tendency to miss when we're aiming. So having basically, if you have a 0 point, like the standard like a 0.5 spread or something like that when you're shooting a target, that gives the bullets a bit of leeway as to where they're going, which means that if you're off by like, let's say 2%, your aim is like 2% to the left more than it should be, well then because of the gun's spread, there's a good chance it will autocorrect and still hit the target even if your aim isn't directly on point. However, with the weapon mastery, it makes the spread incredibly small. It does reduce the recoil, which is nice, but it makes the spread too small to the point where you basically have a laser beam. And the problem with the laser beam is that, especially in a game like TABG here, with the way that the gun moves around and with the way that characters move, that you really need that like extra bit of wiggle room to be able to use guns effectively.
recoil and stuff.
Which, ironically enough, this exact reason is why the beam weapons are so not controversial, just debatedly good, is because, well, they're laser beams, which means they don't have that wiggle room of spread that most other weapons have, which means that you really have to be exceptionally skilled and have incredibly good aim to make them work, because otherwise your own auto corrections that you do when aiming, by extension of being human, make the gun miss and make it worse.
But me as a like fucking hack FPS player, bro.
Also, the spray is, I mean, spray blessing is pretty good here. It does boost the fire rate of the Scar, which makes it easier, which makes it more effective at close range. It also boosts the reload speed of the crossbow, so if you need to fire out multiple shots, you can do so.
Because I like actually get to play this game how I play my other games and how I aim in other games.
Yeah.
I think that's fun.
So as he's saying, he likes to play the same way that he plays in other games, which is very noticeable. Very noticeable in the way that he makes the loadouts and everything. Just be careful and do keep in mind that TABG is not like most other games, which means you do need to adapt the way that you make loadouts. For example,
I don't know if
mainly because like something like double assault rifles might work in one game, definitely
it's
does
gonna
not
be the
work
same
in
in
another
the
game.
recording.
In TABG, you kind of have to have a dedicated close range weapon, simply because of the way that the movement and the combat works. Now you almost get this guy.
Fake his death, bro.
And then you almost get the guy in the car. He gets away because cars have wonky
Oh
hitboxes.
no, I want this guy, bro. He has a grappa. Come here, kitten.
Right.
Oh yeah, good boy.
Interesting quotes from you. Yeah, no, you did pretty well there. You do manage to find a grappling hook here, which is a very good score. As for the actual fight here, not much to comment. Aside from the fact that if you do see somebody faking their death or they're knocked out like this, you might as well start. Actually, no, this is something that I've been noticing. You really ought to start your fights with crossbow. This is mainly due to a concept that I have dubbed the like first shot advantage, which is if you can get the first shot in a fight, you want it to have the maximum impact possible. What this means is that starting a fight by shooting one squad mate with a musket, which kills them instantly, knocks them out, has them drop their weapon, and forces the other people to consider reviving them, versus shooting them with a Glockinator, like once with a Glockinator. Once with a musket and once with a Glockinator. Once with a Glockinator deals about 12 damage. It doesn't really do much. It's a light tickle. Shooting them with a musket, as I said before, knocks them out of the fight. That's pretty important, because if you have somebody out of a fight, I mean, That's one less person for you to worry about, and it also gives you leverage because you can take advantage of them trying to go revive their teammate by throwing down grenades, catching them reviving, splitting them up. As one person goes to revive, the other one goes to fight you, and then you pick them off one by one, etc., etc. It gives you leverage, which is really good. Which means that you should be starting this fight with your crossbow and not your Scar. If you aren't confident in your crossbow aim, that makes sense, but even then you still should be using your crossbow because the only way that you're going to improve and have more confidence in your crossbow skills is if you practice with it. And having someone proned on the ground is the easiest way to practice because they are a non-moving target.
Oh no, I want this guy, bro.
So you're chasing him.
He has a grappler. From your kitten. Oh yeah.
Unfortunately, he can't necessarily fight back.
Nope. Okay. I'm thinking actually. Okay, fuck it. I'm going for a hiker game, bro. Get me out.
Okay. This would work exceptionally well if you did not have the Scar H. Because yet again, the Scar H is not a generalist assault rifle. It is... Okay, it's not as much of a generalist weapon as something else like the AK might be. With the AK, this would be fine because you have spray helping you in close range, you have the AK's natural abilities helping you at medium range, and you have the grappling hook to help you close fights from long range and turn them into medium range fights. Unfortunately, the Scar just can't do that. It just does not have the abilities to do that. Which means that you are basically you have given up your only dedicated close range option, which means now everything has to rely on the Scar, and the Scar, unfortunately, kind of struggles at that.
In part due to its secondary, track spell, grappler, Scar. That's all I need, bro.
Yeah, this would be fine if you actually Dual Rotor mentioned this. If you had a third slot weapon, if you had some kind of automatic pistol, would be fantastic. Especially like I don't know, but. Like a Beretta actually would go pretty good here. Beretta, or if you know how to use it well, like Glock 18, mainly because they can deal a lot of damage very quickly, and they can deal bursts of damage enough for you to like jump around and get out of the way to reload your Scar and then finish off your targets.
Oh my god! I hear back shots. Someone's giving out back shots. What's this direction? Yeah.
So you're going into here. This is a knowledge check. You can't shoot through shield grenades. You can grenade through them, though. Which you do actually end up doing. Unsuccessfully, though. And yet again, this is actually yet another issue. You have willingly put yourself in the middle of a crossfire. You have this guy on the left with a blessing and a gun who's currently shooting you, and you have this person in the middle. And... yes, you're in a crossfire is normal and everything, or it's semi-normal, but instead of going for the person actively shooting you, who actually, had you gone to deal with them, you would have put yourself in this nice little cubby here that's in between these two houses, which means that the other person has to walk all the way around either way to actually shoot you. So if you get it down, you have enough time to slip away and heal up, or just get on the roof or heal up or something. And instead you go for this person, put the tree in the way, and I think you hit yourself with either your knockback grenade or your thing grenade.
I missed my nade.
Now yet again, this is solid aim from your end, but yet again, the fact that you have to have a healing bubble in your third, or in your grenade slot here, is a demonstration of the point that I made earlier, is that you built your loadout in a way that you know that you're going to be in such risky situations that you have to use a healing grenade because your vampire just isn't going to cut it. So you have the M16 here. They are trying to heal their teammate, and yeah, they just get gunned. Yet again, please prone if you're going to loot them. But you're doing well so far. You're mostly taking the advantage of having... It's mostly good aim on your end.
Bro. What the hell?
And some pretty good movement. I will give you that credit. But...
what? He's just knocked?
Yeah, I think...
keeps tracking him?
Anyways.
Not
nice.
anymore.
You're making some good distance. This is okay. This is like a bit beyond the ranges of the Scar H. If you had a compensator, like compensator plus whatchamacallit, plus a 4x scope here, you could actually take down these snipers pretty like reasonably well actually, because the Scar H is strong at that.
Oh shit.
Now this is actually decent. They go for the bandage and everything, they can't close the distance. And then this is where things go wrong. First off, we're gonna go with the approach. You take a ton of damage because you get hit with a cluster grenade. Unfortunate. Still. So the thing is that this isn't a very good approach because you know these people are here. That's not the right tool. Whoops. You know that these people are here. You have seen them, you shot them, and you know they are there. Which means that if you're going to approach them, you should probably do it in a way that doesn't expose you, or that exposes you as little as possible. Now, what ways do we have to do this? First one is, so the first way, and arguably the most dangerous, is run directly at them. Now, you do have a legendary speed and a grappling hook, and this is the option that you decide to choose. It's fine because you're taking advantage of blitzing them. You're basically closing distance before they have time to react, but there's a good chance that well, multiple things can happen to you. If, case in point, you can have something like that grenade go off, which will hurt you. If they were slightly more skilled players and they knew when to time, like your audio, or like they knew how far away you were and everything, there's a good chance that they peek out right now and they just start gunning you, both of them, simultaneously and everything. And that's going to deal between 30 to 70 damage before you even get to them and before you start shooting them, because you're using a grappling hook to close the distance, which means you have to have a grappling hook out and equipped. Now, the second way that you could close this distance is flanking them. You have two hills here. You have this hill to the right, and you have this hill to the left. Either or, honestly, I don't think there's a necessary preference here, but the thing is that you move fast enough for the reduction in time, or basically the amount of time that you lose going for those flanks is negated by your speed, and it gives you much higher chance of survivability. If you pair this with a grenade, or like you're shooting them as you're flanking, that's pretty good. A third way you could close this distance is with one of your numerous grenades. If you throw a knockback grenade behind that rock, I don't know if you can throw the grenade that far, but if you throw it behind that rock and everything, it forces them to either move out of cover or get hit and get launched out of cover. Alternatively, you could have thrown a shield grenade partway down the path to act as a bubble for you to close the distance. You could have also used a smoke grenade, you could have used a flashbang grenade, you could have used the bouncy grenade and thrown it towards them. It might bounce back towards you, but a normal grenade in that case, you could have used a wall grenade actually. If you throw down a wall grenade right here, this is a very limited artistic rendition of a wall grenade. If you throw down a wall grenade and everything right here, as you can see, all of these are their bullets, they get stopped and everything, whereas you can peek around and you can fire towards them and deal a lot of damage, and it buys you enough time to close the distance. Except you don't actually do that. You run at them and then you...
Oh shit.
Now, shield grenade is good, I will give you that. You're buying yourself time to heal and everything. But yet again, this is one of the problems of running Vampire, and why I personally do not advocate for it in every single build. Actually, I don't advocate for it in every single build, let alone this build. Because, one, your ability to gain damage from Vampire is restricted to a single weapon, your Scar H. Second, you're not healing over time here. You're not healing as the bandage. So, like, if you had Relax here, you could be laying down and using a bandage, and you would be healing over time. If you had Cardio, you would be moving around, gaining health while you did this and everything. Or you could just run around in the bubble while shooting and you would get health. Same thing with Regen. Now, on top of the problem here that you were using a second bandage, which was they were going to close the distance. This is overambitious. You didn't really push them back. You didn't really give them a reason to not to push. If you had like used one bandage here, everything, and you start shooting back at them and everything, you're suddenly putting pressure towards them. You're telling them that, hey, you can't come into this bubble, otherwise you're going to die, which gives you a couple of seconds, and it might give you enough seconds to pop off another bandage or throw down another grenade or something. You could have also used a grenade. You could have thrown out an implosion grenade or knockback grenade right here and everything, and it forces them to either go to the rock or get stunned and get launched in one of various ways, all of which make it really easy for you to shoot them. And what does shooting them do? Well, in this case, because you have vampire, it would have gotten you health, which means that there's a good chance you would have actually lived this fight if you had thrown either of your two grenades here. Smoke grenade might have actually helped here too. If you throw it down, everything. If they can't find you, you can just use the bandage. Grappling hook away, and then shoot them as they exit the smoke. It's more risky and everything, but
No, what?
Yeah. Anyways, so far this is game 1 out of 2. From what I'm seeing, you've got very solid aim and a good understanding of like generally how combat goes and everything. But your weapon selection, basically the way that you make loadouts and also the way that you approach fights, is you put yourself in a lot more risk than you can actually handle, which is a common thing. Don't worry, but it's so far what I'm seeing. Okay, so we are back. This is the second game, and they are super launching, which I still don't agree with, but
I already know. Oh fuck! I jumped late. I missed the jump into the window. You don't have to tell me that. Okay.
No, don't worry. I don't
read
comment
on the Discord
like
that this gun is supposed to be good.
Yes, the Tommy is the most popular submachine gun in the game, and because it is a very solid weapon, it does 23 damage, same damage as the AK. Very solid fire rate, very solid, like reliable fire rate, decently fast reload speed, not much recoil. One problem is that it has a very high spread. For those of you who don't know, spread basically is just how much do the bullets vary from the center here, which actually I'm going to use a demonstration of here. Let's say this is this point right here is where you're aiming. Okay, so this point right here is where you're aiming. If your gun has a spread of 0.5 degrees, this is the cone. All right, it is a cone of where your bullets can go. It could land here, it could land here, 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 and everything, but it can't land over here most of the time because it's TABG. But most of the time, it's just going to land inside this circle here. That's 0.5. That is what most assault rifles have. If you have a higher spread of like 2 or something, it's, imagine this was an actual circle, it's pretty big. There's a good chance that if this rectangle is your target and everything, there's a good chance that shots don't actually make it into the rectangle. Like, see, I'm landing a couple of shots in the rectangle, but I'm also landing some outside. Now, the Tommy gun has really, really high spread. Namely, it actually has a spread of 3, which is really, really high. Which, this is an exaggeration, obviously, but what it means is that if your target is right here and everything, there's a good chance that your bullets literally just veer off target. And this is especially noticeable at 15, 20, 25 meters and everything. Which is why most people use the AK next to it, because the AK has a spread of 0.5, and thus that's not an issue. So, I need to learn how to talk less, but Tommy gun is good at close range. That is a burst gun. Burst gun is a special version of the M16. It basically shoots in its entire 30-round magazine with one click. It's very deadly, but very ammo hungry, and also hard to use if you don't know what you're doing. Okay. Going up. Fantastic use of the sawed-off. That's pretty much exactly what it's meant to be used for, which is movement, stuff like that. You're running down here. Good. You have the Tommy equipped. Honestly, this is just a good showing of the Tommy at close range.
Honestly, bro, I saw this guy landing on top. I saw he has like a geeky skin. I thought I'm gonna die.
Nah. That's interesting. So you must have seen this guy?
Geeky skin? I thought I'm gonna die.
I know, I think he heard him, but I just can't hear it. You get incredibly lucky here. Yet again, you have a questionable way of taking fights, and I think you rely on your aim a bit more than you should. Because you should be dead right now. If this guy hadn't walked into the fire grenade, you would be dead. This is actually a pretty good smoke grenade. You're making it more difficult for someone to find you. However, you really should be med-kitting right now. Mainly, you're just gonna get more health back, and especially given the limited time that you have because of
блядь.
Smoke grenade, yeah. Pretty decent wall grenade, you're buying some time. You get lucky that he doesn't manage to revive his teammate.
Summon rock.
It's a fun thing, but not necessarily.
Sorry if you can hear my girlfriend, by the way.
Yeah, it's fine.
Ooh. It's a loadout I like.
Okay. Okay. Suggestion. Please go into the firing range and spend 5 minutes learning the intricacies of every weapon there. Unfortunately, the firing range does not have every single gun in the game. It is outdated, but it has like 90% of the guns that you're going to find. Because if you did, you would learn a couple of things. One, the AWP is a sniper rifle, and sniper rifles are kind of hard to use at any range closer than 30 meters. And two, that the M16 is a medium to long range assault rifle, much like the Scar H, but it works better at longer ranges than the Scar H. And it's not very good at close ranges, which means that what you have done is you have basically made a loadout that is less successful than the previous one was at close range. Hold on. Anyways, so yeah, this is not a good loadout. Now, this would work if you had a teammate, if you had a ally who's running like a machine gun, was running like a very close range loadout, like machine gun plus shotgun, or machine gun plus anything, submachine gun plus something. And basically what you would do is you would be the what's known as the anchor, which means that you sit in the back line and you provide long range support to your ally. So for example, you could have the AWP, and then you have a healing barrel, for example, on your M16, which means that every time you shoot your ally, you're going to heal him. And because of the M16's damage output, it's very high. It does 18 times 3, which is 50 something. I can't do math. It is 54 damage, I believe. 54 damage per burst, and the bursts fire incredibly quickly. Which means that you could deal a lot of healing to your ally, or even if you don't have a healing barrel, you're just providing long range support. Yeah, no, that would be fantastic. Unfortunately, you do not have an ally. You're playing solos, which means that you are basically, unless you want to play from very long range and spend the entire game pestering people, this loadout is not going to work for you. Let's see. Yet again, inventory management, very important skill that you need to learn.
By the way, I'm a yapper.
Yes.
Couldn't tell.
Also, if you went into the firing range and you practice with weapons and everything, you would learn what the attachments do, more or less. Dual Rotor in Dual Rotor's video, there is a visual guide as to what each attachment does. The short explanation is that fire rate barrel lowers the damage. The M16 already struggles with damage issues. It needs a compensator mostly. Is the main thing that it needs. So lowering its damage even more to give it even more fire rate, which is unnecessary. You're just hindering yourself.
Especially now when I'm under pressure. I don't know
Let's see.
any of the attachments too.
Yeah.
Like I read them. Compensator, I don't know what this does. I always use anything. Fire rate barrel. I guess I shoot faster. So that's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Do I want any of this? No.
You do want to grab the rare bloodlust for the main reason that hold on. I'm sorry. Yes, you do want it because it scales with the amount of kills you get, and you are bound to get multiple kills in a match. So you're basically gaining max health with each time you get your kill. It caps out at 10 kills, but still, it's plus 80 at 10 kills, I believe, with that rarity. And having 180 health is a lot of health.
Oh, man, I'm already taking too long looting. I've watched one of your reviews, and someone was looting an area. Wanted to drop a high kill game, but he was looting, bro. That's no bueno.
Yeah. I will admit, you are actually, this is something I will applaud you for. You are decently efficient with your looting. Obviously, there's some slowness in it, in how you loot. I suspect this is because you don't necessarily know what guns do or what guns you want and what guns will work with the build you're making. But aside from that, no, you are a very efficient looter. and he is going to super launch, which yet again I do not advocate. Admittedly, you do need to get into zone, but you can also just land and take a car. Actually, you can land and take a car, or yet again, if you're just going to go to industry, you really don't need to super launch. You can get like 90% of the way there with a normal launch. And you managed to land the bounce. Fantastic. Alrighty, so you do actually grab a vehicle, which... Yeah. Toll work. Normally this would be a good destination, except it is on the edge of zone now, which means anybody who would... I take back what I said, or are you going to go... Oh yeah, also, water blows up vehicles. Also, you can't aim when in water. This is not a good location for you to be in. I'm gonna be honest. If you shoot somebody with your sniper rifle, pretty much all the sniper rifles deal between 60 damage and 78 damage. If you shoot them, you can just shoot them with your assault rifle, and the enemy is just gonna fall over and die. It's easier to shoot them with your automatic / second weapon instead of trying to go for a follow-up shot with the sniper rifle. This does not apply to DMRs. If you're using something like the Garand or the FAL or the Winchester, go for the follow-up shot. But if you're using the AWP, it's the AWP, the Kar 98, the Barrett, mostly those. Just go for the follow-up shot with a different weapon. You are also in not a very good position here. This is really not a great spot to be in because you have a very thin piece of cover keeping you alive, and everywhere around you is water, which is not a place you can reliably fight in. So I would recommend that you just, if you're going to stay here and take this fight, go over to these rocks here. They are a much more reliable source of cover, and you also have ground next to you. Nice. So you managed to get one. You have someone on your left and you have someone on your right. You're gonna want to shoot that guy, yeah. Yes, this means you will have to close the distance. Unfortunately, you can't reliably close the distance, and I suspect you know this because you have used the M16 before. Maybe this is interesting. I don't think I've seen sniper gameplay in a long time. Most people don't really run snipers. So it's fun to see. Good shots. The dude was completely oblivious, which is kind of shocking because you were making a lot of noise earlier. Ooh, nice. Right now, follow-up shot would be fantastic from your M16. Really, it would have to be 2 shots, but you get the point. Nice. You have solid sniper aim. It's on target most of the time. I will admit this shield grenade is a bit overkill. You have all of these rocks to use as cover. Actually, hold on. Now that I say that, I think I... Okay.
I think I'm gonna dip.
Smart.
Because, like, I don't know.
No, it is a smart choice. It's there's low chances that you actually get that kill, and you just.
I think I killed him all, no? Yeah. Besides the guy on top, I don't want to fuck with him.
Smart choice. Okay, let's see. Let's see. Yeah, you hear someone land. So far your loadout hasn't given you any struggles, but you also haven't been in any close range fights, which will be interesting to see how the M16 holds up. I mean, it can hold up fine. It's not like it's still an assault rifle, but it does struggle. Case in point, you just went through an entire mag and you landed 4 shots, and I'm pretty sure the guy only took 40 damage. Which, yeah. Case in point, you've been through 2 magazines, you dealt about 80 damage, and you are down 60 health. Yeah, and you are almost dead here. And you actually managed to get a hit, and because the other person does not know what they're doing, they do not get a kill on you. Actually, hold on. If you are the other person in this video, contact me. I will help you get better so you can actually get the kill on Spindown. I'm sorry for the self-promotion, but this is why, actually, this is, if they had been aggressive right now, you would probably be dead. However, I suspect they are
Maybe I should have taken the timing. I don't know.
But actually, this is a good demonstration of why your loadout is not necessarily reliable, because the M16 struggles a lot up close, which is why you were at 17. And why you are almost dead here again. Actually, this is why you are dead here. Is because I suspect that you know, and from your short fight there, you knew that you could not reliably take a fight with the M16, so you tried to get distance and build and make distance with your weapons. Unfortunately, despite the fact that you had a sawed-off and everything, you could not reliably do that. This is in part due to factory not being a location that favors long sight lines, but also just the way that you took this, because you actually did what we call, you actually did do this time what we like to call a dual rotor special, which is you jumped from perfectly good high ground onto low ground to take a fight that was at a disadvantage for you, and then you subsequently died because of it.
I should have taken the timing.
So, first off, congratulations for performing dual rotor special. Everybody does it. Don't worry. It's nothing. It's a common part of improving at TABG, but this is part of the demonstration of how you play.
I got a timing on my wrong.
I suppose it's a demonstration of the problems of having a badly balanced loadout. Alright. A badly balanced loadout.
I got a timing on my revive now.
Badly balanced loadout and not playing to its strengths. Now you still are alive here. Unfortunately,
Imagine this is not looted.
There are not many locations left.
Yeah.
It is looted. Now this is very risky because you just died here, which means that the people who killed you are still here because this is later in the game. It also means that there's a good chance that there is very little, if no, loot around. Yeah, all that's left is spare ammo and stuff like that. Let's hope you're a good shot with the Glock, or the M19. Okay. Yet again, I suspect this is a you don't know your weapons problem. The Tech 9, very reliable auto pistol, shoots quickly, high damage, very good. Glock 18, very fast fire rate, incredibly inaccurate in hip fire, which means that you don't, and because you're dual wielding, you have to hip fire, which means you don't want to pair these two weapons together. If you want to, you can pair the M1911 and the Glock 18 together. Honestly, what you should do is you should just ditch the Glock, keep the M19, and then keep the Tech 9, and then use the Tech 9 as your quote-unquote main weapon, and then keep the M1911 as your finisher if they aren't fully dead yet, or if you run out of ammo in your Tech 9. Then you find a Thompson. So, a Thompson and a Luger, but... Actually, in this case, if you aren't going to be using these pistols, unload the ammo in them, which you really shouldn't be using these pistols, and you... Oh, nice. Oh, you got a storm. Okay. Fantastic stun grenade. Oh, that is a very big health grenade. That's a nice health grenade. I recommend you keep bandaging up. Also, you really should have swapped one of these guns for the AK that the other dude had, because... Do you open your inventory at any point here? If you do, we can see how much ammo you had, or if there was any normal ammo that you grabbed or that was on the ground, because you are out of ammo here. which means that you have 27 bullets right now to kill this person.
Well,
You have 7 bullets to kill this person. You shot the wrong person. You are out of ammo.
I have no bullets.
Yep, you have no bullets.
I have nothing.
This person is persistent. Wow.
Would you like to explain to me how I get bullets? Kurwa.
You find them. And then,
Okay, 2 HP clutch, bro. I'm telling you, bro, it's happening.
you grab that revolver. You want the
Oh.
revolver.
Why
Oh my god, hold on,
am I
you're not
seeing
dead yet.
people
You're not out of this
spawning,
yet.
bro, out of the blue.
Okay, no, you are.
Kick.com. I'm gonna come to...
You got killed by a streamer. That is unfortunate. Okay. Generally, from what I've seen so far, you are a skilled player. You have the very good aim and solid mobility. You also understand how to take advantage of aggression and everything. However, I suspect you are playing... You play... I don't really know how to explain it. I think you play in a way that makes more sense for other games, but doesn't necessarily work in TABG. Or I suppose, it might be an inexperienced thing, but I don't think you play in a way that works for the weapons that you have. The main reason that I'm calling this out is this entire section here, or more specifically, this section here, in Factory, where you should never have jumped down here at all. Like, you should have just stayed up here and sniped, and in case somebody got close, then you swapped the M16 and everything. Alright, actually, hold on. I know how to explain this. You have a clash between your playstyle and the weapons you pick. Or your playstyle and your loadout. From what I've seen, you're a very aggressive player. You like to play quickly. I suspect that you're probably a duelist player in Valorant. And everything, Neon, Jet, and everything, you like to just grab a Vandal, run out, dash, be in there, be in the fight first and everything. Problem is, all of the guns that you take aren't necessarily calibrated to that, which is a big problem, because if you're trying to play aggressive with guns that don't work well when you're playing aggressive, it's not going to end well. So, actually, hold on. I pull up... Yes. What day is it today? It is the 27th at the time of recording this. May Spindown... Also, congratulations if you made it this far. This is one of the longer reviews, partly because I'm tired. Your play style clashes with your loadouts, and it's getting you killed. We see this mainly in this game, but we also saw this in the previous game, because you had the when you were playing with Scar crossbow and everything, you had to rely on your Scar a lot as your close range weapon, because you aren't confident / aren't very experienced with the crossbow. And what that meant is that you had to rely on a healing. You pretty much always had a healing grenade ready, because you knew that, hey, if I get into a fight, I'm gonna need my healing grenade to bail me out of this, which is not good. If you are running Rare Vampire with a blue spray Scar, you deal enough damage, get enough health back, that you should not have to have a healing grenade in your first slot, but you do, which means that, aside from the fact that you're preparing for eventuality, the fact that you're preparing for eventuality means that your loadout just is not working well. And then here, mainly in this game and everything, you're playing aggressively, but your guns aren't working well with that. This is obviously part to an experience. You commented earlier that you just don't know what the guns do or what the attachments do and everything, so you need to go into the firing range and spend, I'd say, about half an hour. Guns and attachments, as well as single guns and attachments, as well as combos. Machine gun plus compensator, for example. There's no Y in compensator. This is mainly just so you get an idea of how guns work, how they play, what they need to work well. For example, the MG42, you pretty much have to have a compensator to use it past 10 meters. So in the future, if you grab an MG42, you'll keep an eye out for the compensator. The other thing I noticed is that I think I don't really know how to word this, but from what I saw is that your grenade usage was very minimal. There were a couple of times you used grenades. It was usually when you didn't have your whatchamacallit, when you couldn't rely on your weapons or you're out of ammo, for example, earlier, or actually later on in this game, in this entire fighting section here. I think this might be you're expecting abilities, or I think what's happening is that you're not used to playing a non-hero shooter game, because from what I've heard, you play Overwatch, you play Valorant, and you're pretty skilled at Valorant. In Valorant, it's a shooter, but abilities are a heavy part of play. And namely, once you get into the higher ranks, abilities really affect how fights happen and everything. You can take what's known as 50-50, which is a flat, even duel, and there's a coin toss on whether you win, or you can rely on grenades, or more like, not grenades, but you rely on abilities to swing the fight. If you can throw a flashbang, you can throw a thing that forces them out of cover, you can throw something that increases the damage they take, or blinds them, or whatever it is. The problem is, I don't think, I think this is the main thing. Like, obviously, you use grenades. You know what grenades work. You know what grenades do. However, I don't think you fully understood that grenades in this game are what abilities are in Valorant. Aside from the fact that Valorant has abilities that are literally grenades. The point is, grenades as a concept in TABG are the abilities as a concept in Valorant. They're what they give you leverage in fights. They help you win fights. They help you to pressure enemies, reduce the amount of pressure that's on you, change fights, like how a fight is going, get a ton of health back quickly, for example, save time, all of that kind of stuff. That's what grenades are for. And from what I'm seeing, you haven't fully cemented that, and you still use grenades and everything, guys. For example, I saw you use a snowstorm grenade and everything, but you don't use grenades enough, and I think it might be because you're relying a lot on your aim, because, yet again, in Valorant, you have very limited uses of... Actually, I think it is a scarcity problem. Basically, the point, what I'm trying to get here, so I don't go too long with this, in Valorant, you have to be very selective with when you use your abilities, for most characters at least, and you have to really pick the right moments to take advantage of them and everything. TABG doesn't have this restriction. You can have 15 implosion grenades, and there are times where you will have 15 implosion grenades, and you need to use every single one of those. And obviously, I think this is a thing that will come with time and experience, but basically, what I suggest that you do is that, if you are at risk of losing fight, use a grenade. Now, this could be that you're walking in, so before a fight, if you see a team and everything, and they have like full blessings, one of them has like a double shot sniper rifle, one of them has a machine gun and everything, prepare and use grenades and everything. However, if you're in the middle of the fight, it's just a standard fight and everything, somebody manages to land that lucky headshot or something, suddenly the fight isn't in your favor anymore. That's when you should use a grenade. They use a grenade, you use a grenade. They get a lucky headshot on you, you use a grenade. They pull out like a shotgun or something, or like a minigun, and you're in close quarters, use a grenade. If you're ever at risk of losing a fight, use a grenade. It could be something that's not necessarily perfect for the condition. It could be a flashbang against a sniper player. It's not the best option, but just get used to that. If you problem is equal to grenade. If you have a problem, grenades are your solution, and you need to just learn that and get used to that. Now, I will warn you, you will get used to this, and if you start doing this as a habit and everything, you might use grenades a bit too much, but that's fine. It's always easier to reduce how many grenades you use than to start using more and everything. So which is why you want to get used to using as many grenades as possible now to then scale it back as you get better. What else is there? I suppose, oh, I don't know. I think there were a couple of things I saw from, like, the way that you played and everything. I suppose it should be, like, keep in mind that, you must have a dedicated, hold on. So this is probably something that you will get used to with time. Yet again, a lot of things in this game you will learn over time, but you just have to have a close range weapon. It can be a shotgun, it can be a machine gun, it can be a submachine gun, it can be a special weapon like a crossbow. I do not recommend that. Just stick to machine gun, submachine gun, shotgun. But you have to have one. It's pretty much mandatory, and it's simply due to how fast TABG moves and how often fights go from the 30 to 50 range. They just end up in the 5 to 15 meter range, 5 to 20 meter range. It's just how the game plays. So just get used to that. I know it's gonna suck for a bit because you can't run something like a sniper M16. However, yet again, go into the practice range, use a couple of weapons and everything. For example, if you had run Op FAMAS here, FAMAS still works as FAMAS an assault rifle, and it still works as one if you throw on something like an accuracy barrel or if you're just patient with your shots and everything. However, it also works incredibly well as like a close range machine gun type weapon, and it absolutely decimates there. If you had a FAMAS here, you would have won those fights, and you would have also had a very like consistent loadout that could tank on any fight. So that's the main thing here. This one, it's a bit annoying, but it's just part of learning how to play the game, and it's one of the requirements of this game. And what else? I think aside from like a couple of small nitpicks, something like this, the dual rotor special, please try and avoid this. Aside from that, honestly, I just want to say thank you for taking the chance and for submitting your gameplay. It's gonna be a long video. You might. And the process for this is going to be difficult, especially since you've dedicated a lot of time to your previous games, because you don't get to Radiant in 2 afternoons most of the time. So it's going to be a hard process. It's going to be a lot of very difficult changes, getting used to all the guns, getting used to having to run a close range weapon, having to use grenades a lot more often and everything. That's going to be complicated, and I know it's going to be a struggle for you. But from what I see, you have all of the other skills that you need. You have the aim, you have the game sense, you have all of that. So you have potential to be an incredibly skilled player. So thank you very much for sending in your footage. As for everybody else, thank you for watching this far. This was a very, very long review. But this is usually what happens with higher tier players, like with more skilled players like this, is that I have to really get into the nitty gritty details of what I'm explaining and everything. So thank you for enduring as long as this will. I really need to get better at reducing the time. I think I'll have a lot of free time because summer happens, so I will hopefully get more sleep, which means I don't need to repeat myself as much as I usually do. But yeah, thank you all for watching. I will see you later on. It will be yet another Project Remix competitive analysis video, or it might be something special. I haven't decided yet. But yeah, thank you all for watching. If you want to book a session like this, where I review your gameplay footage, everything, there's a couple ways to do it. Easiest way, find me on Medify, book a 1-hour session. Simplest thing, even better, is that I will be doing this live, which means that you can ask me questions directly. I can clarify points and everything. it's the easiest for both of us, and it'll be much higher quality than these video reviews are. However, if that's not an option, or if you're just not interested, you can also join my Discord, submit your gameplay, and I'll look at it when I get the chance. It's usually a couple days after you submit it, and all of the explanations are there before. Thank you to DualRotorHelicopter, thank you to Spindown, and yeah, thank you, the viewer, for watching.